second is rain. Third is the roses that bloom in the rain. No need explaining, the one remaining is somebody I adore. I'm looking over a four-leaf clover that I overlooked before.
Without further ado, I want to introduce to you the Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson of the Fralinger String Band. You can't get away from them. They'll find you no matter where you live. Joe Quattrone and Artie McGinnis, please come to the floor.
Out of the way right in the beginning so you can pay attention to what I'm saying. About 1,000 miles south of here right now, the Flyers are kicking ass. At the end of 2 periods, 3-1, the Flyers. No, 4-1, the Flyers. Please, pay attention to me. I love Bobby Clark. And help me out because I am getting older, fellas. And last night was kind of hard. I want to welcome all of you to this very, very, very historic night. It's a very emotional time for me and most of you. I look around the room tonight and this is my family, my friends. And when all of you hopefully cut that goddamn music out of it, the size of the crowd is a true testimonial to our proud tradition. Tonight we have a little over 200 people. Excuse me, that's what I told Schultz. Can you kind of squeeze together so Schultz doesn't notice? Speak about Schultz. The last time we had a grand reunion, I think, was in 1940, am I right, Ed? And I think we still owe him money. So, Billy Schultz, God bless you and thank you for being for such a friend of the Fralinger String Band. That doesn't mean we're going to pay the bill from 1940. That's somebody else's problem. We got to talk tonight, Billy. I want to thank a few select people. So many people work so hard for 18 months. Believe me, this is a labor of love, and it doesn't happen overnight. And I don't want to forget anybody, but so many people work for 18 months to bring you all together. And I thank you all. You know who you are. But in particular, I want to thank a few men. Believe it or not, some of you are kind of hard to find. I think some of you should be on milk cartons, at the side of the boxes. Believe me. But through the diligent efforts and the expertise of one guy in particular, who spent many, many, many hours on the phone at home, on the phone with me, trying to locate you. Quite honestly, the IRS and FBI gave up. But this guy did. I can't say enough about for the effort. You know, over the years, they say cream rises to the top. And we got a lot of cream in the audience right now. But this guy in particular came out of the woodwork to help in this project, and I can't say enough about him. Because of him, a lot of you people are here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, the fellow bandsman, Mr. Art McGuinness. And to me, one of the most positive areas of the whole project was something you have on the table there. You know what I mean? What's on the table beside your drink? Pocketbooks, yeah, cigarettes, lighters. I'm referring to back to the schoolyard. It's just unbelievable. I can't say enough about it personally. The guy is responsible for the text is a gentleman. A continuing positive influence on the Fralinger String Band. A true leader. A guy that, well, he didn't marry his wife, I think I'd have married him. But it's a guy that, thank God he did this maybe 10 years ago or so. He traded in his banjo for an orange jacket. A guy that, a true a Hall of Famer all year, a Man of the Year every day, my friend, Mr. Ed Reagan. I think some of you might have heard the story, but last night at the club, we kind of had a good time. Kind of, you know. So a few guys showed up. I was kind of worried maybe we had 15 or 20 guys. I really think they came out of the goddamn grave. Some guys had dirt on their jackets. They really did. We had 220 people sign the chart last night. And you know something, ladies? I don't know how to say this without sounding boisterous or masculine, but none of the guys needed name tags. We didn't change. Am I telling the truth? I wouldn't lie. The stories, my God, the stories I heard last night. Now I've been in Fralinger for about 42 years. I didn't realize we won first prize 47 times. And I know it's not true because I think Furco won once or twice. You know, am I right? Furco was up there. As a musician, I played the banjo for Furco for Furco after that one. As I played the banjo in years for Fralinger, I realized that all of us musicians, you know what I mean, we always seem to hog the spotlight. You know, the cameras were on the musicians, on the captain, and so forth. And there's one group of people that really, we know, but the public doesn't, really deserves the adulation that we can all give them. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say this to you right now. For the first time in 80 years, I want to make an official presentation. I would like to ask all the former and current marshals of the Fralinger String Band to please stand up right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the backbone of Broad Street, the Fralinger Marshals. Marshals, I want to remind you, you have the tab for last night. Can I speak to the guys for a second? Can you women go like this a little bit, please? Can I ask you guys something? Be honest with me right now. I know these guys will, but can I ask you to be very honest with me? Did you ever, in your career as a mummer and in Fralinger, get a little moody and edgy around New Year's Day?
No.
Or better yet, after New Year's Day? Let's say 6 o'clock on New Year's Day, when maybe Furco was lucky and beat us. I mean, I don't think we're that moody.
No.
And let me ask you something else. Did you ever stay late on a Tuesday night?
No.
And did you ever get tied up in traffic coming over from Convention Hall? I mean, the traffic was terrible trying to get over the South Street Bridge. It was really bad. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I just introduced the backbone of Broad Street. Right now, I'd like to introduce the heart. Would every wife, daughter, and lady friend of the Fralinger String Band please stand up? The heart of the Fralinger String Band. Can I speak to the parents right now? How many people are parents here tonight? Parents. Parents? We got more parents than that. Parents. P-A-R-E-N-T-S. Parents. Well, for those of you that are out there, do you remember the days when you tried to discipline your young kids to say please and thank you and to be respectful? And the first time they displayed those talents in public, it just popped out. They said please and thank you to the right people. Well, during this episode of the whole weekend, I think it was last Tuesday night, a young man came to me and said, Joe, I want to show you something. And he showed me a presentation of all the younger people. And what they wanted to do was to serenade the older guys on Friday night. That hit home. I mean, the thing that's most important to me is my family, respect, and Fralinger. And these young fellas just displayed all those qualities. His name is Jack Mills. I call him Jack Mills and the Mills Brothers. And I want them to stand up slowly because I want to introduce another group. Please, Jack, bring your guys up. I don't know who they are. They're all the Jack Mills and the young kids in the band. Please stand up. And stay up. Stay up. Please stay up. With them, I hope some of you kind of glance through the Back to the Schoolyard Chronicles of Fralinger, and I'd like to turn to that very next to the last page, and I'd like the reunion committee of the year 2014 to please stand up right now. And Tommy Ambrose, you're one of them. Get the hell up. Ladies and gentlemen, 2014, the 100th birthday of the Fralinger String Band, the reunion committee and the young fellas. Now, can I talk about something that's... Yeah, I can sit down. The Fralinger future is in good hands, as you can see. As most of you know, I'm trying to have an opportunity to glance at this book. In 1967 and 1968, the Fralinger String Band was very, very fortunate to win first prize. And we were very lucky to edge out, and I mean edge out, Furco String Band. I got to tell you this, when I was a young boy growing up, I followed the Furco String Band all the way up Broad Street before I joined Fralinger. I love the Furco String Band. They're very, very much a part of our history, as you will find out later on. We were very fortunate to win in 67 and 68. If you had the opportunity to glance at this notebook, I want to quote something. Ed Reagan so adroitly said, after the 1967 and 1968 parade, it's on page 14, the Doctor's band and Joe's band are now neck and neck. The glowing sunshine coming through the gray January clouds would be the gentle smiles of the Doctor and his captain. This meant so much to me, and I want to tell you something right now, and I want you all to remember this, please. This is not mummer's lore. This is not a story of a guy that had about 5 wines. This is true fact. Please turn to the back of the magazine. All of you, please. This is very, very important part of the night. The years might have changed from 1967 to 1920 and 1984. However, I got a call from the printer, and he said, Joe, I have the back cover done, and something's not right. There's something bleeding through the purple, and I want you to look at it. So I went over to his business, and I looked at it, and my first reaction was, oh my God, change it. But I didn't say that, because fortunately I had read the book over and over again, and I read that passage. And I want you guys to think of what I just said. That was not planned. And I said, don't change it, it's already been fixed. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say one thing, and I truly mean this. I want to thank all of you for allowing myself and my family to be part of your family for the last 41 years. God bless you, and I love you.
Thank you. I always had the unfortunate task to be on stage with great people. Usually throughout the year I'm sharing the stage with Herbie Smith and Billy Bowen. But tonight, it was certainly a great experience for me to share this new quadrone. At this time I want to get on with the award ceremony, and I think it'll be really, really interesting to you. It won't take that long, but you're going to recall, some of you who already know, you'll recall a lot of history of the Fralinger String Band. For those of you younger men or newer men, you're going to learn something about the Fralinger history. I have to now introduce some special guests who are here and who are a great part of the history of the Fralinger String Band. First of all, it gives me great honor to introduce members of the Fralinger family who are here. Mrs. Ellen Fralinger Harkins, her husband Tom, who's a former banjo player with the band, and their two children, Tom Jr. and Eileen. This next woman who I'm going to introduce is also part of the Fralinger family. In fact, she knows more secrets about us than I care to admit. Since 1956 and 1957, when we moved to 1903, she's been a great next-door neighbor. Sometimes she's a mother, sometimes she's a big sister, and sometimes she's the father that has to take the whip to us, and she does at times. She took the whip to us last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, when the boys were still jamming at the club. Of course, I told my wife I had to stay because somebody's got to keep an eye on her. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce, and Josephine, please stand up. A great neighbor, a great mother, Josephine Clement. You'll always read and hear so much about the Fralinger String Band and the Furco String Band. It's no secret to me why both bands have always been so close. I know when I first came to Fralinger, I was Curly Connered to death. Everybody, this is when Jack Biondo and McDowell and McCall and all the young guys, they just adored Curly Connors, who was in the Furco String Band. They would kill the Furco String Band on a bet, but Curly Connors was their man. And I came to learn very early on why. He's just a great gentleman. And right now, I mean, we have 468 people here. We could not invite outside guests because we had a great response from the members of the Fralinger String Band from 6 decades. 6 decades of Fralinger are here. But we did invite, and it's certainly our pleasure and honor to have with us this evening 2 very important members of the Furco String Band. Anthony Salenza, the president of Furco. Tony, stand up. And seated next to Anthony is the great and wonderful Curly Connors. Now we're talking history, And we just don't have the time to introduce everybody that's here. I sure wish I could, but we can't. But the younger members, the current members of this band, want to introduce those members who are here from the 1940s. So I'm going to ask 12 men to stand up as I call their names, and please look at them, because these are the men, along with Jim Riley and John Fralinger and Harry Oakey and all those other fellows who had the backbone and the fortitude to put this band back on the street in 1940, 41, and stayed with it. So ladies and gentlemen, hold your applause to the end, and I will just read out these names and the year they came in the band. And gentlemen, please stand up, because you certainly deserve our attention. Robert Calandra, 1940. John Dingler, 1940. Les Dingler, 1940. Tom Week, 1941. Arnold Rose, 1942. Jack Burke, 1945. Bobby C. Franny, 1945. John Cortez, 1945. Phil Blum, 1946. Joe Wardell, 1947. Bill Ewing, 1949. And last but not least, I guess this man's now the patriarch of the Fralinger String Band. In age, he's the oldest person here this evening, but not by looking at him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Kennedy. Tom, the men of the 1940s. Here we are. Now tonight, I had a terrible time. I paid 39 bucks for a ticket, drove from South Philly across the bridge, and complained like hell about the traffic. Now, there's a lot of people here who traveled a great distance to be here. It cost maybe $1,000 between hotel fare and airfare. And I would like to recognize those folks who did come a great distance. You also deserve our attention for going through such an effort to be here with us this evening. Hobie Knowlton came from Las Vegas, Nevada. Joe McNasby came from Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Mr. and Mrs. Fran Giordano came from Largo, Florida. Bucky and Barbara Malloy came from Orlando, Florida. In the sidecar was his son and his wife, Jimmy Malloy Jr. and Bernadette. Also from Orlando, Florida, Pete Camerata and Gina. From Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and there's a lot of golfers here in Fralinger, Frank Patisano. From Rockville, Maryland, the tape monster Stan Lorick and his wife. From Murrayville, Indiana, the recently transferred Steve and Danielle Cooper. From Perry Hall, Maryland, Mr. and Mrs. John Carpin. Three more. From Cranford, New Jersey, up North Jersey. Can't believe this guy's married. Last time I see him was that big, Rocky Posler. How are you, Rock? And from Menham in North Jersey, Bob Horniak. And while I'm at it, Two members of the band had to drive, well, one drove round trip to Wilkes-Barre, 280 miles, and another one's driving round trip to take the guy home to Wilkes-Barre. From Wilkes-Barre, King College, Ricky Henderson. I missed the Fralinger golf outing on Friday because I was the guy that had to drive to Wilkes-Barre. Now, it gives me a great honor to at least introduce you to our Hall of Fame inductions. At last, the Fralinger String Band's Hall of Fame becomes complete. The Hall of Fame was inaugurated in 1987, and everybody in there has earned their fare. They are the best members of Fralinger. And now we can induct into the Hall of Fame the old-timers who did so many things for us 40 and 50 years ago. 7 people will be inducted. At this time, I would like to introduce 2 active members who will induct Dr. John Fralinger. Bill Bowen Sr., retired captain, and John Moak Jr., current trustee. John, Bill, will you come up please? Representing Dr. Fralinger and accepting the Hall of Fame induction will be his grandson, Tommy Harkins Jr. Tommy.
Great. Well.
If I may, Dr. John Fralinger was one of the co-founders of the Fralinger String Band in December 1914. He was a medical doctor and pharmacist, and he was the generous heart of the Fralinger String Band. He put the boys on the street. Dr. Fralinger had the band from 1914 until 1921 when the band did disband. And later his son and his friends would reorganize the band. Dr. Fralinger is now part of the Hall of Fame of the Fralinger String Band. For the induction of Joseph A. Furco into the Fralinger String Band Hall of Fame, I would like to call up 2 active members, Jack Moak Sr. and Bill McDowell Sr. Jack and Bill are presently the in time served, not necessarily in age, the oldest member of the band. They both came in the band in 1953. If Dr. Fralinger was the generous heart of the Fralinger String Band, then certainly Joseph Furco was the soul of the Fralinger String Band. In 1914, he was a 19-year-old boy, an excellent student, something that we would want all of our young members and our own children to be. Went on to college, and he himself became a practicing pharmacist. He was very close to Dr. Fralinger. They were more than just single street neighbors. They were very, very close acquaintances, and Dr. Fralinger had a great influence on Mr. Furco's future. Joe Furco went on to probably, at this time, we all recognize him as being the greatest marching captain in string band history. It was certainly to our benefit to have Mr. Joe Furco as one of the co-founders and organizers of the original band, and it is my pleasure to induct Joe Furco into the Fralinger String Band's Hall of Fame. At this time, to accept the induction on behalf of Joseph A. Furco, I would like to call up a close associate of Mr. Furco's and a longtime member of the Furco String Band, Mr. Curly Connors. Get a middle.
Right here.
At this time, to induct John J. Fralinger Jr. into the Hall of Fame, I would like to call up Herbie Smith and Bill Bowen Jr. If Dr. John Fralinger was the heart of the band and Joe Furco was the soul of the band, then certainly the strength of the band was John Fralinger Jr. and all of his associates in 1940. He and his friends had the tenacity and the strength in the 42 to reorganize this band in very, very trying times. During World War II, they put this band on the street. John Fralinger was our captain for 32 years. He was the leader of this band for 32 years. He indoctrinated many of the young leaders of the band who became older leaders of this band. And one of the reasons we have a really great organization today is because of John Fralinger Jr. To accept the induction in the Hall of Fame, we introduce you to Mrs. Ellen Fralinger Harkins, who will accept the Hall of Fame. John Fralinger always had a right-hand man, and he certainly was loyal to Mr. Fralinger, loyal to this band. He was really many things at a Fralinger string band. I knew Fred Calandra for about 20 years. He was a music director, a drill master, a recording secretary, an association representative, and a business manager of the Fralinger string band. He was always there. He was always there when we needed him. He ran the jobs, controlled the bus, and he did the job. There's a lot of Fred Calandras in this band today. Unfortunately, there were only one or two like him for many, many years. But because of people like Fred, and I think many of our middle-aged members today who are young boys with Freddie learned a lot from Fred, because we do have a lot of Joe Quattrones and Bill Roaches around, guys who have helped manage us over the years. I would like to call up with the induction of Fred Calandra into the Hall of Fame two old friends of his, Jack Biondo and Bill Roach. To accept the induction on Mr. Calandra's behalf, I proudly introduce you to members of the Calandra family, son Fred Calandra Jr., brother Bob Calandra, both former members of the band. I'll always remember 1975 when Fred went up the street as our captain, and it was a dream fulfilled for him. And it certainly made a lot of us happy to see Freddie up there in front of the band. Our next induction into the Hall of Fame is Mr. Harry, nicknamed Okie, Branagh. And to induct Mr. Branagh into the Hall of Fame, I present to you two former chairmen of the Board of Trustees of the Fralinger String Band, 10-term chairman Bud McDowell, 4-term chairman Charlie Simpson. To accept the induction on behalf of Harry Branagh, we bring to the floor his children, Bill Branagh and Eleanor Snyder. Harry Branagh was one of the reorganizers in 1940, one of several men. I guess many we should honor tonight, but we could only do so much at one time. He became the captain of the band in 1941, and through the 40s and in the 1950s, he was the president of the Fralinger String Band. Mr. Bill Branagh taught me English at Southeast Catholic High School. I'm glad you can talk. Just remember back in '54, they were allowed to beat you when you At this time, I would like to induct or bring up the inductors for Mr. Milton Rose, our Assistant Music Director and Trustee, Warren Ribble, and Dan Farr Jr. Is Dan here? He made it. He was working tonight. Danny and Warren, please. To accept the induction in the Hall of Fame, we bring up a former member of the Fralinger String Band and assistant captain in the 1940s, the son of Milton Rose, Mr. Arnold Rose. Milt Rose was a member of the original Fralinger Band back in the era from 15 to 21. He was an assistant music director, and recording secretary in the original band. When the band disbanded in late 1921, Milt went on to become the first music director of the Furco String Band. Again, that great relationship we had with Furco. Of course, Pearlie Connors never told me that. Never told me that. When the band reorganized in 1940, Milt was one of the principal reorganizers, and he became the music director through the 1940s. A lot of us knew Milt in the later years, into the 50s, into the 60s. Even after he left the band, he was a tavern owner in the neighborhood. The costume committee used to meet in his bar and pick the themes. He was always just a great man to be around and an interesting man to talk to. One of the old-timers here tonight, Jack Burke, and myself spent a few nights in Milt's bar when Jack lived on the Avenue. And it's certainly our pleasure, Arnold, to induct your father into our Hall of Fame. Congratulations. The final inductee into the Hall of Fame, and I'm proud to say we found one that's still living. Ladies and gentlemen, to induct Mr. Jim Keenan into the Fralinger String Band Hall of Fame, I would like to bring up the Fralinger String Band drill master Mike Rare and assistant drill master Jimmy Ribble Jr. to accept, of course, a walking, handsome, living legend, Jim Keenan. Jim Keenan came to the Fralinger Band in 1961 after being an award-winning drill master with the Furco String Band. That was the first master stroke of John Fralinger Jr. John did know how to pick leaders to run his band. Brought Jim in 1961 as drill master, and in the truest sense of the word, he was a drill master. He had the dignity, the aura of a drill master, and the young fellas flocked around him. And I think, and most of us do believe, that helped turn Fralinger from a top 5 band and approach the top 2 or 3 positions. Jim gave Fralinger a swagger to their strut. He really did. He went on to become the president of the Fralinger String Band, and he, even after he retired, he never stopped coming around. He always pops in the club once in a while. I think he's just checking up on us to make sure we dress well. Jim, congratulations. Okay, we have one final award. The Fralinger String Band, like all other mummers groups, always gives out awards. Hall of Fame awards, Man of the Year. Our string band is now completing its first centennial. We've been around most of the 20th century. The Board of Trustees and the Reunion Committee desired to award a 20th century award to the Fralinger String Band member of the century. And it was unanimous as to who would receive this award. The award would go to the man who certainly contributed the most to the history and the success of the Fralinger String Band. It was in 1959 that 3 young boys in the Fralinger Band, students at Southern High, Bill Roach, Jack Biondo, and Joe Quattrone, talked Herbie Smith into coming to the Fralinger Band. They walked him down to 2nd and Mifflin, and they're going to walk him to the floor right now to receive our Member of the Century Award. Please remain standing. To make this formal presentation to Herbie, could only be one person. He's Herbie's first student. He's part of the creative trinity of the Fralinger Band, and no one else could present this award to his old teacher other than our captain, chairman of the Board of Trustees, Paul Bowling Jr.
I promise I'll be brief. I'm proud to say that I've marched with Herbie for the last 33 years. It's been a great 33 years to be with a man like this. But I'm more honored to call him my best friend. And Herb, you really do deserve this.
I just want to say thank you very, very much. It's really a pleasure. And just remember, guys, you know, everybody sitting here has something to do with where we are today. And I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody in the band today appreciates it. From Tom Kennedy, all the way up, I guess, to Bill Bowen. We all had a part in this, and isn't it great? I mean, we do it for nothing. We love it. We get along together. And Tommy Ambrose, I got $10 worth. I put this jacket on tonight. I said, somebody else going to fit into this or what? Here it comes. Thank you very much. And Curly Connors, you still owe me 50 cents for that sandwich from 1979. But thank you very much. It's really a pleasure, and I hope we're all here together in 2015. It's only 20 years away, and I'm sure we'll all be saying to each other, "Oh, you look terrific." Thanks again. Thank you very much.
I'd like to, right now, thank everybody and remind you about a few very, very important things. Albie Cortez, Johnny Cortez, Bob Cianfrani, Tom Kennedy, Mr. Roddy, and associates. Just remember back in the 40s. We're going to take you back to January 1st, 1942, a very, very cold, gray day in Philadelphia. And how did you feel? Can you remember, Albie, getting ready for New Year's Day in 42? Well, guess what, fellas? You're going to remember the same thing tomorrow. I want you to remember, 12 o'clock tomorrow at the Fralinger String Band, we'll approximately have 115 to 20 men parading 3 blocks to back in the schoolyard. And it's all of our honor. We're going to be led by 2 of my favorite people in life, Drill Master Mr. Jim Keenan, and Captain Mr. Bill Bowen Sr. down 2nd Street. All of you be there. Please remember that. Yes, Art's reminded me. In the back of the book, everybody here tonight's listed. It took 18 months to get you guys in that book. Let's not forget what we have tonight. There's so many priorities that you all have personally when you leave tonight. But just think about when you lay in bed, what a good time you had. You're with your friends, and guess what? You didn't get paid for it. It's a labor of love.
saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, go nowhere, but I know we'll meet again one sunny day. Take it, big guy.
that we rekindled, all the friends that we got to meet for this weekend. We had to buy another building. we never want you guys to feel as though you're strangers. You're always welcome here. We're here every Tuesday. Whenever you want to come down, you're welcome to come here because we've got a lot of work to do. Buck, I expect you for the demo. Handle the sledgehammer. So on behalf of the board of directors, we dedicate this to new Fralinger Annex, and by next year we'll have a really nice club.
All right. All right.
Yeah, don't pull the windows out.
We're good with something. We're good with something.
Did Simpson tape it? Yeah! And we're going to do the same thing next weekend, so we expect to go back.
bosom buddies, friends, brothers, and pals. We'll always be bosom buddies. If life should protect you, there's me to protect you. If I say that your tongue is vicious, if I say you're